This is the Spartan Plastics case. Spartan Plastics is a producer of high-quality plastic components typically used in the interior of cars and trucks. Their shipment volume for the next year is projected to rise 10 to 25%, which creates a big problem for them as their shipping costs are already seen as too high. This means that Spartan Plastics is going to have to look into different companies to fulfill their shipping and choose the best one. To find the cost implications of each delivery option, we first took LTL carrier and saw what their pricing was. Spartan Plastics ships about 10,000 pounds of product per day to 3 assembly plants from St. Louis, Missouri. The LTL carrier charged 5 cents per hundredweight per mile. So to find the price from St. Louis to Lansing, we had to take the distance between the 2 points, which was 487 miles, multiply it by the 5 cents, and then multiply that by 10,000 pounds divided by 100. This came out to be $2,435 for just transporting from St. Louis to Lansing. Once all three costs were added together, it came out to be $7,690, which turned out to be by far the most expensive option and was why we eliminated it from consideration almost immediately. The next was consolidated shipping, or CS. Consolidated shipping uses 30,000-pound truckloads and carries a milk run approach that sends the truck to first drop off products at the Lansing plant, then go to the Detroit plant, and finally end at the Toledo plant. It charges $6 per truck mile and an additional $250 for every stop. Therefore, the longer the route, the more expensive it'll be. So from St. Louis to Lansing, it's still 487 miles. So we took that, multiplied it by the $6 per truck mile, and added 250. We did this for each of the 3 stops, and the price came out to be $4,590, which turned out to be the cheapest of the 3 options. The next service was AIS. And AIS used an approach consisting of first taking the truckload from St. Louis to Ypsilanti, where the shipment would be unloaded and sorted with cross-docking, to be then sent to the 3 assembly plants. AIS would charge $6 per truck mile to the cross-dock area, and then a flat $500 fee per delivery to the assembly plants, no matter what the distance was. By accepting either of the new shipment proposals, Spartan Plastics is looking to save $3,100, as the total for AIS came out to be $4,626. So a little bit more expensive than CS, but a lot less expensive than LTL. Spartan Plastics would save a great deal of money using either consolidated shipping or AIS, although one of them is cheaper by a little bit.
Both CS and AIS use truckload carriers, meaning that they transport full trailers of cargo. Before, Spartan Plastics used less than truckload carriers, which meant that there was a need for further consolidation, higher costs from having to stop at terminals for such a load consolidation, and higher marketing to get full loads. When measuring a process output's qualitative characteristics, we use attribute data, such as pass versus fail, go versus no-go, and good versus bad. The categories for the transportation services characteristics include speed, availability, dependability, capability, and frequency. Both CS and AIS get the job done, so they both pass. We can't speak to the good versus bad characteristic, as there is no mention of the 2 transportation services records of damaged products during delivery. The case doesn't explain if multiple trucks will be sent out in one day for AIS. CS is not terrible at 2 days if we assume that the stop charge means an overnight stay. However, if AIS is sending out individual trucks on the same day for all their deliveries, they will be more timely and achieve better customer satisfaction than CS, since a delay in the first shipment with CS's milk run approach will stop the rest of the shipments. We know that both CS and AIS are available to service the 3 assembly plants, but there is no additional information on the transportation service's dependability, capability, and frequency of deliveries. The only problem Spartan Plastics had with LTL was that they were becoming too expensive, meaning that they checked off all the other prior boxes.
Based on our analysis, we recommend using AIS as the new logistics and shipping delivery option. Both AIS and CS were considerably cheaper than the current LTL carrier, which immediately eliminated LTL from our consideration to continue doing business with them. However, when it came between AIS and CS, there was a very small difference in cost, to the point where it was no longer a deciding factor between the two. The reason we recommend AIS is because of their method of shipping and how it mitigates risk of disruption across the supply chain. CS uses a shipping method called the milk run approach, which creates a great deal of risk associated with the shipment, where even the slightest problem to the shipment can have huge consequences across the entire supply chain. For example, if the one truck carrying all of the products gets a flat tire, is held in traffic, or takes too long at the first delivery site, then the entire supply chain is disrupted, and Spartan Plastics cannot deliver on its promise of on-time delivery. By shipping to one location and then splitting up into several different shipments, such as the approach that AIS takes, it spreads the risk out across several trucks, so if one were to break down, it doesn't back up the entire process. Hiring AIS is the lowest risk option while also being at a very fair price and should be the direction that the logistics and shipping department of Spartan Plastics goes in.
So what's missing from this case is that when deciding on a transportation service, we need to consider the transportation costs and the costs of in-transit inventory. However, the case doesn't mention the number of days the products spent in transit, the shipment value, or the annual inventory carrying costs required to calculate in-transit inventory holding costs. Usually, logistic managers want to balance the in-transit inventory costs and the transportation costs because there's a trade-off between delivery speed and in-transit inventory costs. Other things that are missing include exact product value and product weight. We only know that Spartan Plastics makes high-quality plastic parts. By knowing these two characteristics of the product, a shipment's value density can be calculated. Considering that product value controls inventory costs and product weight controls transportation costs, value density is another way logistic managers select transportation services. For example, they typically want to use expensive but faster transportation for value-dense products. As mentioned earlier, the two transportation services, dependability, capability, and frequency of deliveries are missing. Lastly, the case doesn't mention any service requirements that Spartan Plastics might have to satisfy its customers. For example, Spartan Plastics customers might want the transportation service to deliver products in a certain time frame, have insurance, have inspections, have a good reputation, and so on. All of this additional information will help with our analysis and recommendations on choosing the best transportation service. So our assumptions when solving the case was that the transportation cost and its associated qualitative and service characteristics are the only factors involved in making this transportation service decision. We are also assuming that increasing shipping costs are caused by Spartan Plastics not having a high priority on logistics and shipping. Lastly, we assume that the best way to reduce shipping costs is to outsource the activity to logistics and shipping companies.
Hi, I'm Diamond and I will be talking about our real-world examples. To fully understand our reading material, of course, it is important to have understanding and view firsthand how real application takes place and the results that come from it. We've decided to share an example of one of the largest global transporters, Costco Shipping. It is a 20-year-old company. First, it is important to mention the differences between Costco as an example and AIS. Costco is known for their global transport system, and they have excelled in water vessel transportation. Most of their shipments require crossing large bodies of water. Some of the services they offer include vessel transportation, as I mentioned earlier, heavy lifting and oversized items, so construction items, things that can't easily fit into shipping containers. They also offer natural material transportation, such as logs, and they have a car service. As for all of the similarities between AIS and Costco, the biggest would be that they offer the same transportation methods. To better understand, it would help to imagine both companies working simultaneously. So, in this case, we would imagine the items from one company, Spartan Plastics, being consolidated into truckloads. At the same time, for Costco, items from one company will be consolidated into shipping containers and put onto massive cargo ships. From here, the truckload would travel to the next location, while the cargo ship would travel to the next dock, and they would both end up at their next destination, where they would break down the consolidated items and send them to their next or final location. This is great for companies because of all the benefits that it offers. Some of these benefits include resources. A lot of these outsourced transportation companies already have the supply chain capabilities, including boats, trucks, and management systems to track all of the changes going on. This would help reduce and regulate costs for other companies because the manufacturing company would need to try and acquire all of these needed materials. Luckily, in this case, they can just get it from the third party. Companies are typically able to save more money if they reduce the amount of companies their products need to pass through to get them to their destination and to the customer. This also helps minimize risks. More distributors can mean a greater chance of items getting lost or damaged. Another benefit this transportation method gives companies is that it saves them time. This includes worker hours, tracking packages internally, and their delivery time. Another real-world example would be Amazon. They both experience increasing shipping costs, so as Spartan Plastics was challenged, so was Amazon when it first started offering customers one-day delivery. And despite them feeling the same pressures to manage their supply chain, Spartans decided to outsource, while Amazon decided to develop their own logistics operation and internalize the entire process. By doing this, Amazon gained more control and a closer eye on their operations, and they can increase their capacity by investing in growing what they already have. So, if Spartan Plastics were to see growth past their third-party logistics capacity, they would need to consider finding another third party with a larger capacity or insourcing so that they can grow themselves. To close, we would like to say thank you for listening to our analysis on the Spartan Plastics case.